who's on your screen with the comic book scene. No one but Dan Shaheen.
Oh, hello world. Oh my gosh. What's going on here? That was fantastic. That's the short and sweet intro. We're going to make sure that our analytics keep you watching, keep those eyeballs going. Oh man, the eyeball meter has already tipped up from 0 to 1. So there's one eyeball, one lazy eye watching us somewhere out there in America or the world, to be honest. Got viewers all over the world that some of which have written to me. So welcome back to the Million Dollar Mailbox. It's that show. Hey, James. James is that eyeball. It's that show that does what I don't think anybody else is doing. We're looking at indie comics. We're asking you to send your comics in here to me and my pal Larry. We ask you to send it to the Million Dollar Mailbox, P.O. Box 1163, Arcata, California, 95518. And when you do that, I make a solemn promise to you that I will give you my unvarnished, truthful opinion of your comics. Will I sugarcoat it with superlatives? Possibly. I don't know. But will I honestly give you real criticism about things that I think you could improve to make your next comic better, to encourage you to make more comics? Absolutely. That's what we're all about. We're all about comics. We're all about fun. And speaking of fun, we got to take you in to talk to our man, the captain of fun, Captain Fun himself, Larry Young. Boy, let me step into the bin, at least into the foreground, into the antechamber, and we'll bring in our good pal, Larry. Hey, Larry.
Hey, Dan. How are you?
Good. What's happening, buddy?
I'm a year older than when I spoke to you last. I was 58, and now I'm 59. And the cool thing is I got these awesome AirPods for my birthday. So I'm catching right up to 2017.
Almost there. That's awesome.
I'm almost there.
Speaking of your birthday, I played go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, can I tell you before we really jump into anything, we did this other thing about Star Trek. And on Tuesday, we started talking about Quantum Leap. And you said the most brilliant thing ever. And I bragged about you to my kid and my wife. And my wife was like, oh my God, you can't say that on Facebook because you're friends with Ben Rabb and Derek Hughes, who are two executive producers on that show. And they wrote the 5th episode, the Western one. So I don't talk about it. Like, oh my God, you ruined that show. Because I don't think they're gonna do that. And if we made them aware of it, they couldn't because there's legal issues, right? So
there's got to be a chance it's going to happen. It's so by the numbers to me.
Well, it's been written. The end of the season's been written, but what if they were saving that for the end of the show or something? Who knows?
That's possible.
Because they could have even shot something with Bakula, thinking Harrison Ford's going to crash a plane into him or something. Because my kid's cracking through How I Met Your Mother, and when he's telling the story to those kids, they really don't age. And it's because they shot everything through season 2. So every time they cut back to hey kids, here's what happened in 2003, it's the same actors from 5 years before. Isn't that hilarious?
Yeah, dude, I was thinking about it, about what
why you would do that.
Okay, if you're not dropping full seasons like they do on Netflix, where you're dropping the whole thing,
yeah,
it's a pretty cool thing to have an end of the season surprise, super surprise, like when Luke showed up at the end of Mandalorian.
Yeah, that was crazy. They kept that secret, huh?
And if they could do that, what I'm saying is that seems like a template, and maybe TV is nothing if not highly derivative. So they got to be going how can we? What if we're gonna do a Bakula surprise? It could be very well be the season finale, and everybody is just tight-lipped about it until then.
That could be. That could be. I hope they did that. He's got to show up at least once somewhere, and since it's a time travel thing, that's great. But your thing about he jumps into Sam, that's unbeatable. That's unbeatable.
It'd be pretty. It'd be
sad when that doesn't happen.
It'd be fun way to have Sam back, and then Bakula only has to show up for like the mirror reflection shots and stuff, right?
Like I kind of can't even talk about this because it's like I feel like your brilliant energy is just soaking me in the perfect pop culture correctness of it all. Like seriously, it's like if this was a gemstone, no matter how you held it up, it's like, oh, look, it shines this way, and oh, it solves that problem, and this way is a story thing, and this way is economics. Like no matter how you slice it, it comes up.
Okay. Speaking of gems, Larry, speaking of gemstones, that's what we're here to look at today, right? Some gems.
Yes.
Yield. So why don't we dive in head first?
Sorry. I was this close to talking about the sword from Outlander again, so it's a good thing you stopped me about.
Larry, anytime you've got carte blanche on this show, you know that. Do I know how to stop these things from going? Yeah, I do. Okay. So we got comics to look at today. I meant to change that transition up, that Jordan Peterson. I figured I got to go different transition every week, and that gives me an excuse to make new goofy transitions into the $1 Million Mailbox. Let me get rid of this thing. I got this semi-realistic brick here holding down my comics. I gotta get rid of that guy, and we can take a look at what we're talking about today, what we're laying down.
It sort of looked like the top of a Reuben sandwich. So you were like, "This is a brick," and I'm like,
"Yeah, it's hard to tell."
Either way.
Well, it's an orthographic top-down view, so yeah, whatever. It's tough. So speaking of which, let's get an orthographic top-down view on the $1 Million Mailbox itself. And we're going to look at 2 submissions today that I just read this morning. And man, they tie together so well, like thematically, and they're at sort of different ends of the spectrum, production value wise, but they're interesting and related. So let's take a deeper dive into Deja Vu and the City. Okay.
I was wishing for a second that was one title. That would be cool. Deja Vu in the City.
There's a lot of links. Well, there's a lot of links between these 2 books, so they almost feel like they're coming from if not the same universe, but just like from a similar angle on life here.
Don't you love stuff like that where people just come up with kind of the same idea at kind of the same time for kind of the same reasons, and so it's kind of the same thing, but then when you dive deep, it's like it's its own thing. You're like, wow, coincidence is a crazy thing, isn't it?
Well, it's like it's not even coincidence sometimes, because it's like we all see a lot of same stuff, and it's like synchronicity, like zeitgeist or whatever.
Zeitgeist. Yeah.
So let's take a look at the zeitgeist here. That is Deja Vu. So both of these are I don't want to say American, but I'm going to say Western creators, but with a lot of Asian Eastern influence. I mean, you can see right away here off the bat. And both of them have a sort of they have this sort of thing, this manga-esque quality about them. That one of the things that always made it difficult for me to get into a lot of manga was the tendency to just gloss over backstory completely and to just sort of throw you're just in the middle of this world, and this is just the way things are. And maybe you're going to find stuff out, but maybe you're not. But it's just like a bunch of wild influences, and you're just sort of swimming in the middle of it. I think of manga that way a lot.
I like that in manga because that's kind of my brain, man. You live in the moment like this. Oh my God, you open that up and I'm like, I can't wait to talk about the production value on that. Like the first page, not the inside front cover. That's great, so it's typewritten stuff. But that page is crazy interesting to me because it looks like it with tone for a stack camera, printed that out, and then printed that on instead of the original line art. You know what I mean? It looks like he added a whole extra step that he didn't have to. For some reason.
Well, speaking of which, it's very interesting because this is 8.5 by 11 paper,
Oh
right?
man, I love zines. I love them.
Fold that, but no staple, Larry. It is literally saddle stitched with string. Okay,
Oh, that's kind of cool.
There's like a long piece of string here.
Yeah.
And we did a single saddle stitch.
Dude, I love crap like that. Because I was a zine guy back when before the internet. And like there's just nothing like sitting down with your long-ended stapler and stapling 3,000 comics that are just typing paper folded in half, right? So this guy had to manually bring it up like he's fixing a baseball. Thank you, sir. That is great. I love it. All right, that's all I have to say. Anything in that is awesome by definition.
I like to think you're solving a problem where like you couldn't get the stapler all the way to the center without like scrunching up the book. So he's like, I got no choice, I guess. I got to get out the dental floss and I got to do a million.
No, I think the printing is so whack that I think all of this is done on purpose or it's done in 100% ignorance. And either way, that is awesome. Right.
Well, it's like outsider art. I don't want to,
right.
But
right. I'm not doing it like this other stuff because if you just have a regular stapler, you hit it with a telephone book, right, and then fold it in with your thumbs. I mean, zine guys know how to work without a long-ended stapler. Like, I was a rich white guy, so I spent the $30 to get that because it was just wear and tear on my elbow. Yeah, I gotta have it. Okay. Anyway, what's that guy's name? What's his name?
I don't know what this means. Oh, well, here's what I was getting to. I love it because there's a few names in here. Okay. This is actually called the Tournament of Power, issue 1. The Dietz State presents. Dietz.
Right. Dietz State. Yeah.
Story by Rick Dietz, art by Rick Dietz. Chickenhead Comics. And they are out of Willoughby, Ohio. Which is it looks like a suburb of Cleveland, kind of near the lake, and it's also where this story takes place. Okay, and
this is great. I love everything about this.
Yeah, it's a meetup of all the crazy characters in here, some of which control cats, and there's like a rat invasion of the town of Willoughby. And this is sort of the story of how this team of super anime influenced characters sort of get together and deal with that rat infestation. It's hard for me to read. It's so small. It's hard for me to read at this size. But actually, I think it shows up pretty okay on the old.
No, it shows up great. This is great. We can totally follow you.
So. It's got an old school quality to it. But, you haven't seen this kind of 8.5 by 11 stapled zine out there in a while. But it does have a color wraparound sort of, like half of it was in color. Oh, no. The whole front page, the whole cover, the inside cover, too, on the back is in color. It looks like a color photocopy. And on the back, support me on Venmo. I love it. None of this Patreon stuff. None of this quid pro quo. It's like here's where you can just give me money, and here's where you can follow me on Instagram as well. I don't know what the Prime Evil logo here is, but I'm saying if you want to pick one of
Chicken Head or whatever, that's the one.
Chicken Head, Dietz. Yeah. I gotta say, Dietz State is of the moment, though.
You and me love that one, but that's hard to say, and people just get confused. So.
I don't know. I like it because it gets his real name in there too.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Tell all the naysayers to shut up. It's your name. What are you gonna do? So here's the thing I love. The Blue Teddy narration guy just said he loves being thrown up as long as you get context clues. And that's my preferred method of hearing stuff, because I've read some comics in my day. I've enjoyed movie and television. I've written a few graphic novels, various nonfiction stuff. The only thing I have in common with everybody else that's normal in the world is that we want the candy first, right? Nobody wants to sit down at your story and go, okay, here, this is great. And then you have like a half an hour backstory with the astronauts on an earthbound barbecue. Like, shut up, Brian De Palma. Give us the candy and we'll figure out the rest of it if it's important, right? Anyway, I just had to say that because it's bubbling up in me, and we kind of talked about this guy. So
there's nothing worse than that. Like when you get a comic and you open the front page and it's like it shows all the characters and it's like this is a covert CI operative and this guy has the power to do this or whatever. And it's like, yeah, guys, I don't
on that guy again.
I want to learn that. I want to.
Is Psalm number one? Was that the guy? What's that guy's name? That was the whole thing.
I'm going to reserve judgment on our pal Young Ripa, Larry.
Young Ripa, that's it, dude. But when we reviewed that one, it was just like, hey, he got up and had Cheerios for breakfast as he put on his Levi jeans. You were like, what the fuck, man? What is this about? It went on for pages. I was kind of getting cross on camera, which I try not to ever do, but I was getting annoyed with the comic.
To be fair, though, we reviewed the Kickstarter pitch and not the comic. So like I want to get the comic and read it and give it its fair shake because it's not fair. I don't want to be that guy.
That's a good point.
So because you get pros involved with the thing and the look of it, it definitely doesn't look amateurish. Like it's a step up production wise for sure. From Chicken
in fairness to me, I didn't remember that it was the Kickstarter, so that's a fair point. But also, it almost makes my point even more dear, right? Like you're trying to get money out of people right then for something that doesn't exist yet. Give them the candy, right up front. Here's why you have to have this, you know. Yeah. And then all that other stuff is great, man. I'm glad you did all that work, but put it on the back end or anyway. That guy.
Well. So now don't kill my chances at an interview. Guy has a regular show on The Blaze, Glenn Beck's channel. I don't know if you knew that care. I mean, but whatever. I don't know. He's nothing if not a great self-promoter. And to be able to build an audience like that's not easy and to sell that many comics. So I'm not going to diss it. I read it. No, I read it.
Yeah. God bless him.
Now,
that's all I have to say.
Well, I want to take me read it. And I've got a really embarrassing mea culpa to the brothers Devereaux. No, to the creator, sorry, of the city. I read Brothers Devereaux. The City, issue 1 and 2. They sent me both of these. And when I was opening the package, I somehow gouged through the cover.
Holy shit.
And into like and this is a thick cardstock cover and even into through like the first page and making a dent into the next page. I am so I'm so sorry. Not the most of reason because now my resale value is shot on these things, Larry. What am I going to do? How am I supposed to flip these things when they're sold out from the
the website? You donated them to soldiers in need, right? That you're not trading. Flipping these things. I'm just impressed. Impressed with the savagery that you opened that book. That you're cutting through 100-pound cardstock and then a couple of another 60-pound pages. That's insane. You must have been mad at somebody. Like, goddamn.
No, I get so excited. But this was the type of package that had like a zipper along the front. And I pull out my little key tool that I use. I love this thing. I'm like, oh, I can open anything with this. I'm so great. I blew it.
You didn't know it had a phaser destruct setting, I guess, right?
Totally. All right. So wait a minute. Let me throw this.
Anyway.
I'm vowing now. From now on, it's so simple, Larry, for me to just have the websites open and share the websites. I don't have to worry about showing a URL. Let's look at their website and see what they're laying down. Deep State did have a website, but it didn't work. I went to it and it.
Oh, that's a drag.
Yeah, and I couldn't see it. So you guys got to fix that one. But otherwise, I'm giving a solid thumbs up to Deja Vu.
Yeah, I love everything about that.
For me, it was all about character design and, like I said, sort of manga-esque. What the hell is happening? I don't care, but I'm enjoying it and loving it.
Yeah. My thing is just, if you do a zine, you're already like a friend of mine, because I know what it means to put in that work and then produce something that you're sending it to Dan, right? That like you had an idea and then you had to, it's like that. You ever see that meme that's like how to draw an owl? And it has like two little circles and a line. It's kind of suggests the owl. And then it's like step 2 is this fully rendered drawing of an owl, right? And the idea is that you need to know the beginning and the end, and you can't really teach the middle. And that's how I feel about that's how I feel about people with zines. It's like they had an idea and then they gave it form to give into the world, and that is fucking great. I love that.
So Sarazard, which sounds like a Pokemon type name, Sarazard. That's the website, sarazard.com. And I feel like that's where this generation is coming from. This is another comic that we're going to see is heavily manga influenced. I just want to show they have a cool website, really nice looking. You can sign up for the latest news, and it only has one broken image on the front page and a little typo. I'm dinging your webmaster guys on that. Sorry. But otherwise, you got a thing going on.
Yeah, everybody gets one. Come on. That's such a nothing problem too. That's great.
Well, better than, remember on our last show when they botched like the dialogue line, the key line of dialogue in the store. That's one where that's unforgivable. This one
was painful. That was painful.
All right. So let's take a look at the comics themselves, shall we? Let me go. Wait a minute. How do we do this? Go back into full on MDCC mode. Okay. Now we're talking about two lovely things just to look at on their own. Beautiful, glossy cardstock covers. This is why I said the Brothers Devereaux at first. That's actually the title of this chapter. That's not the creators at all. The creators down here, Choi, Sirigar, and Pretorius. Oh, Pretorius is
who has joined us in the comments.
Yeah, great. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're already sold out of these. Yeah,
the ones you
replacement. Well, I only damaged this the number one. Of course, I damaged the number one.
You're like throwing soup on Van Gogh paintings to bring attention to stuff. Like, let's shred the city because dolphins are getting trapped in the tuna nets.
I actually felt that way. I felt so bad, especially when I pulled it out and then I opened it and I read it. And I'm like, oh man, this is a thing I want to treasure forever. I really like, this is one of those things I could picture me picking up at an indie show in the 90s or something when I was into that. And then I just keep it forever and pull it out every once in a while and just look through it and go, yeah, this thing.
I got a couple books from slave labor like that. That's that exactly. There's weird local stuff that you're like, yeah, I'm just keeping this forever.
There's some stuff I've gotten at the Ape, some zines, like a
zine.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This one guy who does the best Popeye stuff ever.
Yeah, okay. That's where I saw Dishwasher. Have you ever read that?
No.
It was a writing zine. And it was just this dude was sick of his life. And he went to go be a dishwasher in every state. And then he would do, a zine. It was just basically he would journal in zine form until he was like, okay, fuck it, I'm leaving Seattle now. So the next one I'll tell you where I ended up. And then he'd be like, oh, I'm washing dishes on an oil rig in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool.
And it was bananas good. And so every time I found one of those, I felt like, oh my God, pirate treasure. Like no one's seen one of these for like 100 years. You know what I mean?
Well, anyway, like this Dave
doesn't even have his own. That's awesome.
Dave, I will sell you a slightly dinged copy, but the market value is through the roof now, even for the damaged ones. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to upsell you.
Plus, you got to pay shipping too. Supply chain issues.
And handling, a lot of handling.
Yeah, a lot of handling.
Okay, so we can see right away. It's got a manga influence. I almost want to say maybe even a manhwa influence, if I'm saying that right, which is like Chinese comics. Fist of the North Star type scenario. Oriental Heroes was one of my favorite. Seeing like karate or like gangsters in business suits, Asian gangsters in business suits, makes me think of Oriental Heroes for whatever reason. That series.
Mine's always Ghost in the Shell. I always think of that.
Did you ever read any Jade Man comics?
No. I know all that stuff because working in a shop. I read just a little manga. I loved Gray. I read 2001 Nights, Akira, of course. All the Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah.
My favorite one was a 22-volume thing called Eagle. That was basically.
Yeah, he was the president, right?
Yeah. This Japanese guy was like the world's biggest West Wing fan. And he was just like, okay, I got this. And did 22 volumes. That was just spectacular.
That's amazing.
Yeah. But that's
amazing.
it.
Japan has an appetite for those type of comics like that. They can field so many different types of stuff.
22 volumes. I couldn't believe it. It was amazing. But like volume 7 is just like he's in the Oval Office doing this. Shit. You know what I mean? For like a whole thing, and it's compelling as hell. But like, it's like, how did they sell that?
Well, it probably came out in like 10-page chunks or whatever, right? In those big, thick.
Yeah. Well, like Shonen Jump or that kind of stuff.
It's almost like reading Judge Parker or something. I don't know.
I really don't have a good understanding of that entire side of the business.
I'm going to suggest Jade Man comics as just out there to everybody out there as something like you'll find in the quarter bin even or the dollar bin. And there is not one that is a stinker. Every issue of Jade Man delivers with amazing art and action and kung fu magic and stuff. It's so good.
That sounds awesome.
So anything that thinking of that like has to be good. This immediately is like what this book puts me in mind, makes me think about Jade Man comics. But it's got a very Pulp Fiction vibe, right? It starts out it's just these two guys, these two gangsters go into a fast food restaurant, butter and bacon. And they're ordering stuff and they're picking up on the cashier. They're like, he's sort of just like picking up on the cashier. And then and before then they sort of, mention they're both strapped, they're both packing heat, but like they want to be cool, they want to be professional or whatever. Until like the guy behind him is impatient and starts a fight with him. And then it's on. It's just murder time. Everybody's going to die now at this point. And it's just ultra violence. As you like it, as I like it anyway. Including, my favorite part. Here we go. A little baseball reference when he takes a grenade, pulls the pin, winds up, closing for old Toll House, number 1 Camus. Game on the line with one more strike to win the game. Lord have fucking mercy. Here comes a 100 miles per hour tornado knuckle fuck. Do you not love that?
That's awesome. We need more of that.
Totally. So this is issue 1 and just ends on this like destructive. They just killed everybody, destroyed the entire fast.
That's great.
That's at the end. And he's got a little back section. I love. He calls this
farm to table. That's
called it farm to table. Yeah. It shows a little instead of they could have padded 20 pages of behind the scenes with this. Like you got here 1, 2, 3. A lot of books do that. 5, 10, 20 pages in the back of this stuff. This might be enough for me. Like I appreciate the brevity here because look, it's showing the sketchbook.
Well, because you get the idea.
Concept all the way up through the finished page and the script and everything all condensed. That's a really cool thing I haven't seen before. Kudos.
What I like is the people who love that back matter stuff love it, but sometimes they don't, right? So some guys go in the back and then how are you just not charmed by that? It's like, here's your back matter stuff, but it's on 1 page and I got a joke for you. Farm to table. Get it? Of course you do, because you're the only people who like back matter. Oh my God, that's just another perfect brilliance. Ben jumps into Sam. The end.
How about this black on gray? How about this tasteful inside back cover, black on gray?
That's pretentious.
I know. I'm liking it. I'm loving
No, of course.
it.
Of course, that's that like gloss color hold thing that's actually kind of expensive to do. So
that's just what I'm saying. That takes some
I was
skill.
just kind of being a jackass.
And then you turn the page and it's this bright pink and Helvetica white, like in your face.
Yeah,
man,
very stark.
I really love.
I wouldn't have done. Hey, can you flip that back over so I can geek out on the graphic design? The putting the Illustrator, writer, and color thing sideways. That's no bueno.
I don't know why.
Should have been.
I don't know why.
It should have been the title, that middle shit, and here's the guys who did it, making everybody go, "What's this shit?" It's
Here's what I'm gonna. Okay, Larry, I'm gonna go inside.
I think we should have a meeting about this one. That's what
I'm going to go inside their mind right now and see what happened. Like, they didn't want to say one of these guys was more important than the other. They didn't want to put them top to bottom. So and there wasn't enough room because of this dude's long Twitter handle. They couldn't do them side by side equally. So like, this was the terrible devil's compromise that person came up.
I might believe that, except that for the writer thinks he's the biggest deal and has got the longest Twitter handle because it's like, it would read me, and so he always has to go in the middle because of what you just said. So I think there was, I don't know, who knows? These guys are probably all lifelong friends. We're just building a soap opera.
And they jockeyed over this, and Choi's like, as long as I'm in the middle and it's side. I get what you're saying.
I'm just crafting a tale. I'm sure they're all related, even.
Okay.
Possibly by marriage.
Speaking of related, on to chapter 2, The Brothers Devereaux. Another nice choice of limited color palette on the cover. You have all the crayons to play with these days. You could do any color you want. You got high production values. It's about the colors you don't use. Right? It's those choices that you make that I really love both of these covers. Both of these pop out at me from the logo design, the color choices, interesting poses on, and just everything. I really like them.
When you said it kind of reminded you of Pulp Fiction, I was like, yeah, that's the color palette they chose. So that's this. I'm sure the second one is just as good as the first one. This is great.
Well, when we go into the
one problem, this one doesn't have that die cut cover.
Yeah,
unfortunately, I know that the other one has.
This one is pristine. Maybe though it's a blessing because Larry, you know this from working in a comic shop. It's the number 2 issue that's the short print. That's the one. Because everybody takes a flyer on a number 1 in comics. So like G.I. Joe number 2 is incredibly difficult to find, right? Stuff like that.
Yeah. I was working at Paul Howley's Eisner Award-winning That's Entertainment store in Worcester, Mass. when that came out. And I told him, I was like, Paul, order me a box of 350 number 2s. That's on me. And because whatever you do, you're going to under order because you're a retailer. And then I'm just an idiot college student speculating. And he's like, okay, you got to pay me cash when it comes in. Okay, all right. It comes in. I take the box. I'm like, it's too much to go back to the dorm. I'll get it tomorrow. And that night he sold them all. And he paid me the thing, but that 350 of those things traveled out like on that Friday when it came out.
You're talking about G.I. Joe number 2.
G.I. Joe number 2, yeah.
It's amazing.
Isn't that insane? You're right. That's what I learned that.
You're just underscoring your birthday. That's your 59th birthday.
Showing my age, yeah. Okay.
Because what was the cover price then? 75 cents, right?
I think it was. Wasn't it 35? No. It
had to be at least 60 cents.
It was 60 or 75. You're right. Because it was. I remember right before I got to college, it was 50 cents because you get 2 comics for $1, and I was doing that at my job at the dentist. lunchtime. I'd read Rom and Micronauts, and that's how old I am, kids.
All right, so this next issue, I'm going to be honest. The why of what's happening wasn't easy for me to piece together as quickly. Maybe I got to go back and reread this comic to truly understand what's going on in the second issue. But it is just, I don't care, because it's a balls out, action packed extravaganza. There's so many people getting murdered. There's so much violence, explosions, and creepy weirdos. A lot of creepy weirdos. Why do we need to see this guy's toes? I don't know.
It's that Quentin Tarantino fan.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm going to say, yeah, I'm going to double down on the Tarantino connection for these guys. I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all. Who's not influenced by Quentin Tarantino?
Right. Who's not?
Man, not to digress, and we've talked about it on other shows before, Larry, but how much do we want that Quentin Tarantino Gangster Planet Star Trek movie? What world doesn't any executive at Paramount or whatever not immediately just like channel all resources into making that happen? I don't understand.
They have the DC problem that DC doesn't really have this problem anymore. That's a separate issue, but like they didn't know what to do with what they had, and that's Star Trek. They don't know what to do with what they have, so they're afraid. Like, oh, if we do this weird off-brand thing of Quentin Tarantino doing the Gangster Planet, people aren't going to understand. And it's like, yeah, but that's the problem. You should have like your main Star Trek things going, and then every once in a while you get one of those things. Oh, you know what? Michael Bay needs to blow up a starship. Oh, Quentin Tarantino loves the gangster one for some reason. And who better to do that one? You know, they're just not maximizing their Star Trek.
And it would
makes me sad.
It would get people into the theaters to see it, because it would be a legitimate, like, cinematic event to even the highest end cinema snobs are going to be all in, at least to check that thing out and give it a thorough, like,
if they marketed something like Star Trek, the directors, not cut, but like Directors Club, and then you have a Woody Allen Star Trek.
The auteur, yes.
You know what I mean? Just
the auteur edition, yes.
Collect all the Quatloos.
That's the comic book model, honestly,
of
right?
Course.
Once they realized that the creators are what's selling the books as much or more than the character, and that the killer combo of creator and IP together is the ultimate thing, right? Like when it works, I guess.
But you know what? That's Marvel Studios. So it's not like they haven't proven that somebody could do it. Dude, you give Star Trek to me and John Price, we'd do that inside of 2 years. Come on. Anyway.
I just can't believe it doesn't. It's not just a slam dunk. Like the fact that he would be willing to do something like that, I would think would just be like it would be automatic green light. Let's go. Because
I'm sure there's a lot of Hollywood politics involved, right? Like, if you're worried about that you're heading out of a studio and you want to land someplace good, you don't want to be the guy that gave the keys to Star Trek to Quentin Tarantino, and then it's like TVMA, rated M gore fest.
True. The guy said he's only going to do so many movies, though. So for it to be one of those. Yeah, and instead he'll get like somebody gives him like Man from U.N.C.L.E. or something or whatever, something that he loved out of left field, or he does his version of The Prisoner or something.
I want to see his Star Trek because I'm a giant Star Trek fan. But anything that Quentin Tarantino wants to redo from the 60s because he loved it, I'm okay with, because I probably loved it too. Like, yes, you're just rattling up. Yes, please. I would like to see the Quentin Tarantino Man from U.N.C.L.E. Yes, please. I would like to see the Quentin Tarantino Time Tunnel. You know what I mean? Land of the Giants. Give me that. Oh my God. Tarantino doing Land of the Giants.
I'd Electra Woman and Dyna Girl if he would do it. I don't care. I want to see it.
That's true.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Super ambitious book, right? That goes from the small scale scenes we saw in the early one to like the biggest scale Akira, Neo Tokyo disaster type scope that you can get to. These are artists that are clearly growing in the sense that, like, I think that the execution on this is high. That, like, the production values are so high and so well done that it makes me hope and know. Actually, I should say, it makes me know that the artists and the writers and the team behind it is just working on has such a high vision, is working on such a polished level that I know it's going to get better and better. I can see an obvious progression from issue 1 to issue 2. So I want to see more.
I love that shot that you have, the little it's like roadway or something with all the people on it, but they're like little X's basically. It makes me think of in the Phantom Menace where they showed big crowds and it was just painted Q-tips that they would go up and down. So it's like, I kind of get, like, I don't feel like drawing this, but you guys all get it, right? Like, I think that's such a cool style choice. It's a brave thing, and it shows super confidence in your ability. I think that's cool. Nice job,
Dave. Good job. Please send me a copy. I will treat it with kid gloves. I promise. I disrespected this thing in a way that I don't. I'm not even a guy who's nitpicky about, like, perfect condition on my comics. I don't care about a little ding, or if it's been read a lot, I don't care. But like a gouge in a glossy cover, ugh.
But Dan, it was an accident. It's not like you know. If anything,
and it's irreplaceable. It's irreplaceable.
Blame Dave for not, wrapping it securely and protecting it from that kind of happening.
No, he did.
Like, what happened if they dropped it in a puddle, man? It would have been all soaked.
Yeah, he got it.
It's not you.
I just had to open it. It was my enthusiasm, Larry. To be honest, it was my love of comics.
I was trying to help you out, but of course, you're lucky that it's just clean slices and not teeth marks, because you might have gnawed into the box.
It is. I'm gonna say it's lickable. Look at these colors. Like,
it's lickable.
It's glossy, and, like, I bet it would taste sweet. Like, you would see it and you'd think this is gonna taste good.
The City, Chapter 2, The Brothers Devereaux, the warm, inviting taste of raspberry syrup.
I love it. And I gotta turn it. We gotta turn it sideways again to see who made it. Yeah. And no, there's no barcode. No, there's no price on it. I believe it went for $10 or $9, maybe $9 or $10 on the website, which I think in this day and age, with this kind of cardstock cover and stuff, like, it's fair maybe to charge that at a convention and you give them a nice autograph on it and stuff and whatever. But I feel that's, like, in the world we're in this post-COVID inflationary world, and in a world where the amount of places you can find floppy comics has shrunk, right? And behind the scenes, the retailers' discounts are shrinking and shrinking. Like, DC Comics now is cutting discounts to the bone for people. There's guys out there getting 35% off on their DC Comics, which is like, you can't live on that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's super gnarly out there right now for retailers, Larry. And I'm going to have, what's his face from Bad Idea.
Adam Freeman.
Yeah, good old Adam Freeman. Because he's all in on the floppy model, and he's got a lot to say about the economics of the market and comics and hype and promotion and everything else. So,
and kids don't know this. He has a lot to say about the practice of yoga as well.
Oh, dude, he's a flexible cat.
I love Adam.
Yeah,
I
not
drove
to mention
down.
it. Yeah.
He had a store in Santa Clarita, just a hair
Uh-huh.
north of LA. And I
Uh-huh.
drove down from San Francisco to do a signing for like 3 hours at his store. And then drove back in one day because I thought that guy was so cool.
He's cool. He's a cool dude. And
Yeah.
an accomplished Shel Silverstein impersonator, too. So we'll talk to him.
Is he really?
Well, he's got that look. He's got the woolly
That's so funny.
look.
It's like Adam Freeman looks like he enjoys sex. That's just, yeah. Like, where's that coming from, man?
Well, we'll ask him that.
We have to get him on and have him go, "Hi, sex fans. I'm Adam Freeman."
He offered to come sit in on the $1 Million Mailbox. I thought I'd just have him in here and he'd look at our next set because I got more
that's
awesome.
awesome.
Already.
You don't even need me. You two should do that. That's awesome.
No. We want you in there, Larry. It's a nice little.
Right, well, of course. I serve at the pleasure of the president.
If you're available. Well, we appreciate it, Larry. I got to get us out of here. That's all we've got for the $1 Million Mailbox this time. But maybe, Larry, you could tell the people like where they could send their comics.
Actually, you know what? I even have this right here just in case you don't flip it up so I can say, get with me. The P.O. Box 1163 Arcata, California, 95518. Send it to Zoom.
Wonderful. Thank you. Send me that comic. Send me a little note. One thing that was kind of lacking in both of these was there was no personal note or personal touch. Send me any stickers you got, any promo swag or whatever. I will show it. Maybe I'll even add the sticker to the sticker board of the $1 Million Comics cam floor.
We need to peer pressure Mark Espinoza to send you a copy of Maglev. But,
yes.
Because that's awesome. Dude's doing graphic novels. Man. Here's a graphic novel. I'm done. No one's ever heard of me. Here's my brilliance. It's crazy. I love it when people do that.
Hey, Deet State is weighing in. Thanks for review. All right, Deets. Good job. Thank you for sending that in. I really appreciate it. Send me anything you got. We'll review it anytime. Anything you send, we'll send it. And that goes for anybody out there. Thanks a lot for checking us out. I'm going to play the closing credits, and I'm going to get us out of here. You know, Larry, for your birthday, I played on the last series of Star Trek a little Happy Birthday Polly and clip, and we got demonetized for that.
What? That's just smart.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't a copyright strike. It was a demonetization, and they get the money. So whoever put that clip out there, not even the Rocky people, whoever put, like, I just stole somebody's clip.
Wow, it's tough out there in the digital world, huh?
I'll give it to them. They earned it.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. I guess that's all I can say.
Oh, Brian Payne. Thanks, fellas. Enjoy the show. Remember,
man, this is awesome. Thanks for checking in, everybody. That's awesome.
It's from Zinc Comics. In fact, Brian, I got your package. I got the new comics that you sent me, and I believe that your comics will be on the next episode, the very next episode, right? So stay tuned for that. Thanks for checking us out. And speaking of Zinc, wait a minute. Yeah, do I? No, not speaking of Zinc. I've used that. I got to get out of here. I'm going to play the closing credits, and then I'm going to play a little cameo clip like I do at the end of any good comic book media. We will see you guys next time.